Welcome to King Said So, Africa's one land, one language, one currency, one army on King Said So. Africans can unite. Your Pan-Africanist podcast. Enjoy.
But when we got recruited in politics, one of the fundamental principles that you get, which is an ethical principle, is consciousness. So part of consciousness, it requires you to do a rigorous understanding of the problem and do what is right based on the consciousness. So there will be robust engagements. You get a sounding yes and an inferior no, which is coming from my side, for example. So I've been the kind of leader that gets to stand for what they believe in. I never get to be bullied in a homogeneous perspective of whatever needs to be done. If I believe so and so must be chairperson, there must be chairperson, you know. Yes, we get to go to conferences and assemblies and we become delegates or become members, we vote, you know, we lose conferences, but at the end of the day, I believe in that idea and I move with it. You know, no, I was not EFF member then. I was still affiliated with the Youth Congress, which is the ANC Youth League. But I was part of COSAS, you know. COSAS is it's an ANC in high schools and primary schools. I think Malema led it in 2001 when he was still 17 or so. You know, COSAS is actually an organization in Youth Alliance of the. Okay, it's as if you know that I had aspirations to become president of this institution, but a lot of things happened last year, you know. But then, nonetheless, number one is that the lynching of student activism is being lynched everywhere. It's not only in UniZulu, and we cannot say it's a specific individual, right? Student activism needs to be revived. It needs to be revamped. It needs to be resuscitated, right? Which is activism in what way? Students having to have a voice in institutions of higher learning. Because now when we want to have the SRC, right? When you go to, I'm making an example. I'm going to be very brief. When you go to SRC, you've got political formations who represent different people. You've got a winning political formation that won with 4,000 students. You've got the next one that didn't win with 3.5 students. That means you've got 3.5 students who believe in that political formation and what it represents, right? So when you lynch political student activism, we are saying that those who didn't win the elections must keep their views to themselves. There is no body that includes everyone in terms of engagement, in terms of proportional representation. For example, in New Zealand, there's no student parliament. You know, ordinarily, historical and traditional, you'd have that in institutions of higher learning, but it's not here. In other institutions, also, it's not there. You know, so I'm saying that you must make sure, as a president, you revive student activism. Okay. But also, you must not be bought by anyone, because once you are in the system, which is you as leadership in student governance, you are exposed to a lot of largesse, good life. In other universities, they receive stipend as presidents. They receive, here in Zulu, like other institutions, we've got good accommodation for SRC, right, and president. So once you're introduced to money and all that living, you going to Mhlanga for vacation and so forth, they do that, or a meeting with SAUS, which SAUS is like a union of SRCs in South Africa, right? You must not also be bought by the system itself, because once it assimilates you, it then, once, okay, for example, if I go to as a president, when I was campaigning, I say I'm going to radically give student water, warm water, for example, not cold water. But when I get there, I get to understand that the reason why students don't have warm water, they recruit me to understand, you know. So ngenzo understand the reason why. So I go to students and say, I start becoming the system. Once I wear the institution badge with president, I become a staff. That's the problem, you know. So you must not be bought through that, but you must not be bought through other people who want private deals through service providers and so forth. Because there is that. People don't know that, but we're not going to expose it. But it's a podcast anyways, you know. So there is that element of politics where business people approach you. They promise you money. They say, I have got cars that I want to, that must be insourced by the institution. So do this, and for, you know, there are channels, the processes where you must insource, you know, labor or services and so forth. So there is that process. So we must not be bought. That's number 2. Number 3, make sure that you excel academically. Now, that's number 3 is very important. I come from an organization where they say they promote academic excellence, and I think all political formations they actually embrace that. But it's very hard to manage between academics and leadership, and especially as president. I have not been president of any institution of higher learning, but I've seen, you get to have now, you don't attend, for example. Anyone who has said they've attended the president constitutively, like... Yeah, but there's one formula to pass. Is you go to class, you attend your tutorials, progressively you write. So there is that. And also, that was number 3. Number 4 is that make sure that the organization is safe when they've deployed you, right? So whoever you are representing, organization, a fraternity, once you get deployment to governance, make sure that comrades, not only comrades, the organization, can be able to come back to power. That means you must deliver on the manifesto. You, comrade, promised us water, warm water. I always make this because the issue in Zulu. You promised us instant payment in terms of distribution and dispensation of allowances on FNSFAS. We want to have problems in Yigwana. You promised us washing machines, for example. Deliver on those. But because the SRC budget is limited, you must make sure that bread and butter issues of students are well catered for, right? And also issues of high importance. I mean, we've got, in the manifesto, we've got first points. Those important points, make sure that at least you leave office, because the term of office is very small. It's very limited, I would say, and the budget is limited also, And also, lastly, is that make sure that students are fine.
How?
And maybe it can be a first or a last, but I'm just saying students are fine in terms of their living experience in university. There are things that really that are unjust and unbecoming when you get into, especially in rural universities, right? Like the process of registration. You've got long lines, Now, that's not the issue of maintenance and issue of services. It's an issue of the frustrating issues about, like your Wi-Fi getting to be cut in certain time. There's that Wi-Fi that postgrads use. I think I forgot what it's called. I've not been a postgrad myself, so I don't know. but all those things, So long lines and systems that are not working, such things, they frustrate students. Whether you are delivering on some services, but things that are inherently there, they must function, So it limits a lot of frustrations, because now we've got already academic frustration that is academic, So I cannot have a problem of me having to wait for a bus to Vasco, to wherever where I stay, for hours, or having it coming to campus twice, for a pickup, So such things you must avoid. So that means the people who voted for you must be well taken care of, the organization, and also yourself. Don't lose yourself in the process of leadership.